And it is projected that if we had another solar flare of the same strength, the same power, the same energetic result as the Carrington event of 1859, it is projected that that could cause us to be without any electronic functionality for potentially months on end. So, folks, that means no cell phones. That means no internet, no computers. Potentially that powerful, potentially that sweeping. And so Nia's points here about having some strategies in mind of how you can communicate with family, friends, your loved ones, however distant they might be, it is very important to think about some of these things. Do you still have a landline, for example, or did you give that away because of the convenience of the cell phone? Some of these ideas about how you communicate with your loved ones in advance, once again, an hour's worth of preparation today could be worth weeks' worth of stress, worry, concern, and lack of communication at some time in the future when we least expect it. Any thoughts there, Nia?
Yes. When you were talking about being without power for months, we Floridians, we know all about that. Every time we get hit with a hurricane, as a matter of fact, a few years ago, we got the year that Katrina hit, as a matter of fact, we got hit with Katrina as well, although Katrina, when it hit here, was not as strong. But we got smacked back-to-back with 4 hurricanes that year, one after the other.
Oh,
and, my house, we didn't have electricity for about 2 months straight. And that says a lot when you can't refrigerate your food or take a hot shower or take a shower, because we have well water, so, we didn't have an electrical pump to use it, so we had to go to my parents' house to to take a cold shower. And, gas as well, you have to think about that. These pumps are electrical. A lot of these gas stations just had no gas to provide, so you had to definitely strategize where you were going and make sure that the trip was worth it, as well as you have to take into consideration hospitals. Their generators only last so long. If power's out everywhere for 2 months, there's going to be a lot of casualties. Just hospitals' generators, they can't function that long without electricity. I mean, just think of the massive amounts of electricity that they use on a daily basis, and you would be surprised. So
You're absolutely right. There's so many of those layers of interdependence that our society has come to rely on. Many people in business today, you've heard the philosophy of just-in-time delivery of supplies, components, resources necessary for production. Well, folks, unfortunately, that mentality has made its way back upstream in every avenue of life. So many hospitals, for example, yes, they have temporary generation of electricity resources on hand, but yet how about the fuel that's going to supply that? And how long will the disruption of services or availability of these supply lines, how long will those things last such that Nia's comments that she's made here most recently come into play? It has become such an intricately interwoven chain of supply and demand, for that reason, that we don't realize just how vulnerable we are at some of these critical bottlenecks or pinch points of our key infrastructure and also the services that support and keep us healthy and keep us fed along the line. Your thoughts there, Nia?
One thing I just wanted to add to that was when I was talking about water, another thing when the power goes out is the water plant's ability to filter and clean the water. So essentially, the water that you may get may not be a sanitary enough water to drink. It may be okay to bathe in or wash clothes or whatnot, but not so much to drink or to cook with. So that's another thing, and you're absolutely right about the hospitals, because they are prepared, and not even all hospitals have backup generators. A lot of places, a more not so urban places, they don't necessarily have backup generators. So they would be completely in the dark without the ability to keep people on respirators or have defibrillator usage or anything to keep people alive. They would not be able to use. So I think that that's a really big issue. And again, communication. How would emergency services be able to reach people that really needed it? You know, it would not be an easy thing to attempt.
Oh, you've made some very, very astute and important points once again, Nia, and I appreciate the time and the research that you've put into some of these considerations. I know that's going to be helpful for us as we continue the conversation here with some of the real details. Like, I guess what I'm hoping to do right now, Nia, is between you and I, as we're visiting, and some folks who are listening to the show, folks, I would encourage you, break out a blank sheet of paper and start making some notes now about some of the real key things, basic things you can start with today. And I think Nia already touched upon one of those. That's water supply. What would you do if suddenly there were no water coming from your tap? And as I mentioned, that happened in my city, relatively modern, if you want to call it, or average-sized city, just last year. Unexpectedly, we had no city-supplied water supply for about 5 days. What would you do when that happens? Nia, do you have some thoughts on water that people should begin to think about and maybe start their planning or research about their own personal water supply?
Yeah. Some people may have the means to invest in a distiller, but if you don't have that kind of money to spend on a distiller, if you know anybody that's really handy and inventive, you know, it's not that difficult to really build an average run-of-the-mill distiller. Basically just heat to metal and water and another container at the other end. You know, I think that could be a viable means to kind of, you know, provide drinking water. But another thing, you know, for people that don't want to go through all that, you can buy just gallons of water or larger amounts of water. Even some websites provide those large water container bins.
Yes,
and they're not so bad in price. They're affordable.
And in fact, even just buying like what we call flats of water, which is 12 to 24 bottles, shrink wrapped in a flat, average drinking size type water bottles. But in my view, those are so inexpensive at the store. You might find those flats of water for $3 or no more than $4 for a flat. When so many of us walk into a convenience store and pay $1.50 for bottled water, you can have 12 to 24 bottles for $3 to $4. And it's my view that people should have at least one or two of those flats for each member of the family that they just keep in storage, and you gradually use them and replace that over time as you're using them. And Nia, also to your point about water distillation, I've also recently come across another option, and in fact I've made the purchase. Folks, the brand is called Berkey Water Filtration, Berkey, I believe it is, or maybe it's just Y at the end. And we purchased one of their, actually I think it's their most inexpensive unit. It's called a Berkey Light. It's made of plastic. It's very quickly and easily disassembled so you can move it. Many folks take these when they go on camping trips, for example. What's so wonderful about it is it uses a water filtration system that you can take water directly from a stream or a river even, and without needing to boil it, you can run it through its filtration system and have potable drinking water in just the course of a short period of time. So there are options like that available. And the last one that came to mind to me, and as I promised, listening audience, your humble host always delivers, the name of that television show on the Discovery Channel was The Colony. And what drew me to that show, if you do a Google search for The Colony TV show, Discovery Channel, what drew me to that, I was impressed by, is they include additional information on that website which gets into some of these steps of preparedness in a very detailed fashion. They have some white papers, they have forums where people discuss some of these survival techniques, how to live off the grid. If you don't have something like a Berkey water filtration system, how can you take a bucket down to the river, bring it back? It's not sufficient just to boil it, folks. There is also a little bit more involved. You want to use some charcoal and sand and drain it through that to help get some of the impurities out, to some of the actually some of the bacteria, some of the little bugs. But these are some of those consideration, folks, that I would, if you have time, research all of these options. But at the very least, start today or tomorrow, the next trip to your grocery store, buy a couple flats of water so that you at least have the beginnings of your preparedness plan. Nia, did I maybe leave anything out, or would you make any changes to some of those thoughts?
No, I think you did a great job. I might want to add, when people take or learn about survival techniques, for people that go camping or people that are just survivalists or people that just like to go out in the wilderness, you should always, how they always talk about being prepared and whatnot, emergency worst case scenarios. So they teach you how to filter water from streams and stuff like that, with what you have. And so I think that that's an excellent point that you make. There are several options to create viable drinking water. I mean, not just those two, but I mean, definitely I want to encourage everybody listening to definitely do their research. I mean, there's, like I said, a lot of options to work with.
Once again, you make very, very salient points, Nia, along those lines. Folks, this process of preparedness, once again, if you are the at the head of the household for your family, please keep in mind that you acquiring and setting aside some of these things is only just part of what preparedness really means. Think about your children. Do they possess the skills themselves to be able to continue their process of getting along in the unfortunate eventuality that maybe something happens to you or to your spouse? Are they equipped with the knowledge and the skills that it takes to be prepared? And as Nia has pointed out, there are many resources. Sometimes it's classes. It might be first aid class in preparedness, or in your local community, there may be folks who are putting on workshops related to, survivalism, if it's on a camping trip, that sort of thing. And then also remember, ladies and gentlemen, with the power of the Internet, the world is at your fingertips. And I've made mention of just one program. That's the Colony TV show on Discovery Channel, where with their website they offer so many tremendous resources. It's not just video clips from the show, folks. There's a lot of white papers and other detailed information here that, if the day comes when the power goes out or the Internet goes out, it's too late to try to access those. Spend a few minutes, go there now, print some of these things out so you have hard copy references that you can refer to just in case those lights go out. Nia, tell me, some more thoughts along these lines?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I think that you made excellent points. I couldn't have said it better myself. You couldn't be more correct, because the minute the power goes out, none of the things that you think you've learned you will have access to. So, I mean, just everything is so great, we can just save it to our favorites or, just refer back to it if we need it. But if the power goes out, all of that is useless. So it's really important to keep hard copies of everything. And in that respect, I was going to mention ebooks online. Ebooks
excellent.
are a great thing because you can buy ebooks at a reduced rate compared to an actual copied book in the store. But the great thing about ebooks is you can save it to an external drive of some sort, and you can print it out, or you can print out only the pages that you think are important, or you can copy it for friends and family. Not that that's probably legal, but it's an option. And as well as you can put it in a book accumulated with other sorts of how-tos and information and stuff like that, and create your own survival manual.